Hello everyone and welcome to today's dev stream, and my name is Ryan. I'm a community specialist at CD Projekt Red for Gwent the Witcher card game, and today I'm joined by none other than Jean, our latest addition in the game designer department. So, welcome Jean.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Ryan.
Nice to see you too. Good to have you with me today because we're going to talk about a lot of changes. And before everyone asks, Burza is still around, and he's in the background creating some special content with Jason for you, so don't worry. He's working his magic, and that means that today, Jean and I will be covering all the changes coming with the update tomorrow, 8.2 it is. And yeah, I think before we do that, quick reminder that Alzo's journey is about to end. So today is the last day. And tomorrow we will see someone new. Who will it be? I don't know. Maybe I do know. Maybe I won't. But yeah, we'll all find out tomorrow together. So make sure to get that next reward tier while you still can. And I think that's it. Let's jump into the changes. People have seen a couple of familiar faces or cards over the last 2 months reappearing, so I think they are eager to know what has changed, and I think we'll start off with the neutral cards and then we'll tackle everything faction by faction, if you're good with that.
All good.
Perfect, then let's do that. I think we'll start with neutral cards, and the first change that I think we should talk about is our opinion on lock cards, right?
Yes, absolutely. So with the 8.0, we've made a buff to Alba Armored Cavalry, 1 power and 1 armor buff. And we've been very happy about the impact it had and the spot in which Alba Armored Cavalry landed. And so the result of it is that we decided for the 8.2 to make an overall buff to all of the locks card, which previously were a bit underwhelming, and hope that there are going to be better tech cards.
So I think the first one is Aguara. Got a quick provision buff. Now it only costs 8 provision. That's just really nice. The other one would be our monster friend Dorgray. He's now a 6 for 6, very efficient from a 7 for 5. No, 5 for 7 before. So I think that's a really good addition. The next, I think, neutral group that we tackled were bombs. I mean, they have seen some gameplay now with Madoc being in the game, which is really cool, but I think overall they still are a bit on the weaker side.
Yeah, absolutely. We're quite happy about the way Madoc is currently played, though we're still keeping an eye on it with its addition in some ST decks. And some bombs are played, but not all of them, and some bombs in the game are still very, well, terrible. And so we decided to change a few.
Make them less terrible. So Dancing Star is now 4 provision. That's always nice to see. Very efficient. And we've got the Demetrium. Wait, that's not Demetrium. Demetrium, that's how you spell it. And the Demetrium bomb is also 4 provision, but it was 4 provision, but now it damages by 4, right?
Yes.
That's it. It still gives Veil, so also a nice tech card. And the last bomb we've got is Red Haze. Still great artwork.
Yes, and it got a provision buff from 5 down to 4.
Yeah. Also got a little bit cheaper. Nice. Do you also want to talk about Weathermaker in that?
Yeah, it's another card we change while having Madoc, but more generally Weather in mind. And it's got changed from a 5 for 7 to 6 for 6.
Also, 6 for 6 is a nice trend, I would say. A few more neutral cards that were changed. Maxi van der Kar is now 5 provision, so I think it's our first 5 provision unit, gold unit, right?
Exactly, and we think that's really interesting, and we hope that this new slot might make it interesting to run as a tech card.
Yeah. Then we've got Regis, who's got a small power buff from 2 to 3. We've got Scorch, which is now 1 provision cheaper, 11 provision now. Then we've got Yennefer of Vengerberg, which is now only 10 provision. And Yennefer Conjurer has now added Zeal, so you can at least get that one zap of the heist card off. And it's also now only costing 9 provision, which is really nice.
Yes.
There's one last neutral card we can cover, and that is Xavier.
Yes.
Oh. There he is, our known friend of the Thronebreaker saga game, which is now also gotten Zeal and it's been switched around a bit. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about it.
Yes. So Xavier used to be this card which on deploy would banish up to 3 cards from your open graveyard, and it was also 8 provision. And the problem with it was that it was highly polarizing. In some matchup, it could be a really interesting card to run. Most of the time, it was a dead card. By making it cheaper, but also having a more controlled effect, we hope to make it a more reasonable tech card that you might run instead of Squirrel, for instance. And we are also giving your opponent some way to interact with it before you can banish his entire graveyard.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Another good 6 for 6. I see a trend here. All right. I think it is time to talk about the bug in the room, our favorite centipede, called a Vi. Or is it V? Who knows? Who knows? Oh, I actually don't own it right here. You see, I don't play Vi. There it is. It's out. But yeah, we switched it around a bit. But I think you told me that there's one card or like one effect you want to cover first before we go in depth about Vi. But this is like a small spoiler, but we'll talk about it more. But first, let's talk about the monster ability, right?
Yes. So we made a change to Overwhelming Hunger. Oh, it's not here.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we did, yeah.
So we changed Overwhelming Hunger to only have 2 charges instead of 3. And we made a buff to the Echimera token, which was changed to 2 powers from 2 powers to 3 powers. And we also made a 1 provision buff to Overwhelming Hunger. Now, the reason we're doing this is historically, Overwhelming Hunger has been a non-interactive card. And in design, it has limited us in what we could do in terms of death wishes. And of course, the apparition of V has made it very clear how uninteractive it was. So removing this 1 charge allows us to make it, well, more interactive and opens up space in terms of what we can do in death wishes, etc.
Yeah.
Buffing the Echimera. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Buffing the Echimeras allows us to also keep the power level exactly the same, and we counteracted the fact that you have 1 less charge by increasing the provision.
Yeah. So to recap, Overwhelming Hunger now only has 2 charges. The Echimera that does get spawned is a little bit stronger, and this means we are now able to increase the power level of Death Wish cards because they can't basically be cheated all the way 3 times now. Yeah, I think it's a good change. Makes it a bit more flexible to not the effect itself, but the Death Wish archetype. Yeah. Now back to the monster. We got by here. It lost a point, so it's now only 7 points at the start, and it costs 2 more provisions. So I guess you can retract 1 provision because Overwhelming Hunger now is 15 instead of 14. But it still costs 1 more in the end, and it's got 1 point less. And I think you already told me earlier, that means if you play Vi multiple times, obviously you always lose that 1 point. So in the end, it does make a bigger difference than it might seem, right?
Absolutely. You're usually going to be playing V about 7 to 8 times in a game, which means a 7 to 8 point loss. And of course, the chance to Overwhelming Hunger directly hits the archetype by removing that 1 less instance of uninteractivity.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, speaking of Death Wish, we've got a few more changes. We've got the Bridge Troll, which is now only 4 provision, That's really nice. The Harpy, its power got changed from 5 to 6. That is the token that is spawned by Harpy Egg. And we've got the Rot Fiend, which was changed from 4 to 5 power. And I think another card that also benefits from the buff to Ekimaras is the Katakan, right?
Yes.
This guy.
So Katakan lost 1 power. The thing is, with the buff to Ekimara, its overall value increased by 2, and we found that it was a bit too much, which is why we took that 1 power off. Though you have to keep in mind that a lower base power means that it's also easier to trigger its Thrive. So it's less of a nerf than what it seems like. It's still the buff overall anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. I think with these Thrive cards, if you lower their base value, it doesn't necessarily make a huge difference unless it brings them into a certain removal range. So yeah.
Another card that got buffed indirectly with the Ekimara buff is also Blood Moon.
True. Blood Moon, now also a little bit better. Next up, I would quickly cover Fuka. This is also gotten changed a little bit, right? So
yes.
Now it has a Thrive 2. It lost the armor. But I think overall, it creates a different kind of card, right, than you had first in mind.
Absolutely. We're definitely experimenting a bit with this card. The previous version definitely proved to be completely underwhelming. And we think that Thrive 2 might open up a whole other way of playing the card. Yeah.
We've got 2 more small changes for the faction of monsters. We've got Eider, which got changed a bit. It's now 7 provision instead of 8. And we've got the Wild Hunt Hound, which got a provision buff from 5 to 4. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say in regards to monsters, or shall we go ahead to the purple faction next?
All good, I think.
All right. So, as I said, purple is up next. Skellige on the menu. We've got another very popular card. I guess it depends who you ask, but Lippy Gudmund, very polarizing, and he got a slight nerf, I would say. Let's bring him up right here. He's now 3 points and 11 provision. So before he was 10 provision and 4 points. What do you think about it?
Well, Lippy has been very present in the leaderboard following the 8.0 release, since it got some really strong tool from the new expansion, and also got indirectly buffed since we buffed the provision of Roach and Knickers. And, well, we're taking some of that power back.
I think that's only reasonable. Another card that is often run by Skellige decks at the moment is the new location card. And this was really strong because not only did it give you flexibility with the card that you wanted to spawn, like the other location artifacts, but also it had this heal adjacent units by 3 points ability before. Now it is only heal them by 2. So also a small buff to the Skellige faction in that sense. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. So Iron Kaduk used to bring a lot of points quite easily. The minimum you could get from it was 8 points if you played Bear Witcher and you healed it, but you could very easily cap up to 14 points. Lowering down the heal to 2, this changes this value to 7 and 12. But there is actually a very small buff in this, which is a buff to self-wound decks. Because by only healing by 2, your Bear Witcher are not going to be fully healed. They're still going to be damaged, and so they're going to be counted for cards like Bear Witcher Mentor.
Interesting. So, so we might see it in a different archetype than to see it in everything, basically. Alright, we've got a few more small changes for Skellige. We've got the Brockville Hunter, which is now, let's check it out. Brockville Hunter, there you are. You are now locked to the range row, so basically you can interact with it and stop him from pinging just by moving him to the melee row. And also, it's another skill cap, right? People now have to actively play him on the back row, and it doesn't matter where they play him. Another change, as we talked about, is to the faction-specific lock, which is Jengi. He is now 7 power, right? Yeah, 7 power. He was 6 power.
Yes.
Basically, the neutral lock is a clean 6 for 6, so this one got a little bit of a buff. I think that no, we've got a few more changes. We've got Giant Boar. His its ranged ability is now also able to target allies, and it's got a provision change from 7 to 6, which is nice. The Heime Flaminica is now 6 power instead of 5. And we've got Heim and Olaf also getting small buffs. Heim is now only 7 provision, and Olaf got a power buff from 8 to 10. Ooh, I want to take a look at that big boy. I love big Olaf. Olaf, there he is. A solid 10 for 10. That looks good. Yeah, love Olaf. All right. Is there anything else you want to add to Skellige at this point?
All good for me.
That's it. All right. I think. Yeah, let's talk about Northern Realms next.
All right.
First of all, we've got a provision bonus change for Pincer Maneuver. Pincer Maneuver now gets 1 extra provision, 16 in total. Then we've got the Arch Griffin, which got a buff. It's now 6 base power instead of 5. And also its provision cost is now decreased to 9, so it's easier to fit into your deck and build around. We've got a small change to Griffin Witcher, right? As you can see, it's this one, right?
No,
Ranger,
it's the Griffin with no Ranger, yeah.
There he is. There's like notifications popping up and distracting. Yeah, the Griffin Ranger now, 2 power formation. I think that's the keyword that you added to this card, which makes him, I guess, more flexible. Before you had to make sure to set him up properly, right?
Yeah, we also made sure that the deploy, now you can target which row is going to be affected, because it used to be locked to the row you were playing it, the opposing one. And adding formation would have been too clunky with that effect.
Yeah, true. Makes sense, makes them more flexible, I like it. And as for the other factions, we've got Margarita, which got a small buff because, we like locks right now. Margarita. Always love myself a Margarita. 6 for 6 as well, with the added bonus that it's like it's an order, so you can play around it with your order archetypes, and obviously has zeal. So that is. And
Margarita. It doesn't bring devotion.
True. No devotion needed. That is very good. And finally, I think we've got a reinforced Trebuchet, which got the added keyword crew, and that now reads crew damage a random enemy unit by 1 instead. So it's not locked to the ranged row in that sense, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's it for Northern Realms right now. I think you also told me that you guys are aware of the power level of Northern Realms. It's not a weak faction in any sense, like the witches have found decent success on the ladder. But I think we're going to keep a close eye on that. Maybe you want to talk more about it.
Yeah, basically you said everything. We're keeping them into observation. This is also the reason why there isn't too many changes to Northern Realm on this patch. I guess the last thing I want to mention about them is Arc Griffin. It's still a card that we want to believe in. So we made it more easy to run, both in terms of provision and in terms of tempo when played. And also being down from 10 to 9 means that it's going to be able to be targeted by a card like Amphibian Assaults.
Perfect. All right. That is very good. I think we can continue with Squirtle next, the green faction. Now, for Squirtle, I think when I looked at the patch notes, my biggest takeaway was the change to Novigradian Justice, right? So I think
Absolutely.
We can cover that first. And it now reads, play a Bronze Dwarf or Crown Splitter from your deck. If you already control a Dwarf or a Crown Splitter, also spawn a Cleaver's Muscle on an allied row. So this basically requires setup now, instead of having the cleaver muscle spawn first and then play your thinning tools like it was used most often, which now means that we have to play it in dwarf decks. Is that right?
Yes. So Nilfgaard Justice was being played with Macam Defenders, so this 3 cards package, and we did not like its current state because it was an auto-include, it was a 13-point slam, and it was thinning your deck by 2, which is too much overall. And so this change aims to make it more committal to play in your deck, and hopefully to make it more reserved to dwarf decks.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for such a strong card to not be an auto-include. Other changes, we've got 2 small harmony changes. We've got Call of Harmony, which got a provision bonus. It's now 16 extra provisioned. And Dana is now 7 power instead of 6. The Cat Witch has also got a small buff. The Cat Witcher Saboteur is now 4 power instead of 3. The Cat Witcher itself has now Adrenaline 3 instead of
Which
4.
is a nerf.
That is a nerf, right. That is
Yes.
a nerf, because it now takes longer for it to block. Makes sense. Then also, as for the other factions, we've got the faction-specific lock, Kjaren. Let's take a look. This is now a 5 for 6. And still has the lock unit and move to the other row. We've got Barclay Elves, another dwarf that got a little bit of a love. It's now only 6 provision instead of 7. And we've got Yorveth, which got a power increase. Yorveth, let's take a look. 4 power now instead of 3. We've got Yorveth's Gambit, which now only costs 12 provision instead of 13. And then I think we got 2 more. We've got Morin, right? Morin also a faction lock, now a 5 for 6 as well. And finally we've got Vanossio's Commando, which got a provision change from 5 to 4, and that I think rounds out Skirtel. Remind me, is there anything I've missed? Is there anything you want to add?
Small things. We think that the Harmony deck is not that far from being meta, so this change both in terms of provision and power to the leader ability. We hope that it will tip the scale. Vanossio Commando was one of the portal engines, and we kind of forgot to bring it back to 4 powers with the 8.0. Sorry, here it is.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, I think after we are done with the elves and the dwarves, let's take a look at Nilfgaard, alright? Nilfgaard is up next. So, do you want to kick it off maybe and go through the first couple of changes that we had in mind?
Sure.
I think...
I guess the first one is the change to the leader ability Imprisonment, which got a 1 provision buff from 15 to 16. We changed Alba Pikeman. We added Bounded, and it bounded the major random enemy unit by 1 instead, which kind of likes the Reinforced Trebuchet, remove the need, the row lock aspect of only eating one of the row. Hoax, one of the lock card of NG, was buffed from 5 for 7 to 6 for 6. We buffed Experimental Remedy. We changed it from a 6 provision special to 5. Small word on this one. Its absence of use proved that it was too expensive for the 6th slot. So we think it's going to fit right in the 5-1, and we hope that it's going to get some use in the Assimilate decks. And lastly, Viper got its provision changed from 9 to 8.
Yeah. 8 provision now for the big snake. The big snake. Nice. Love to see it. Yeah, I think similar to Northern Realms, we are aware of the certain power level that some Nilfgaard decks have achieved right now, and I think there's especially one or two that are quite popular and people like to play it. I mean, Nilfgaard has always got a big player base, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it and make sure to adjust with the next patch if anything gets out of hand, right?
Exactly.
Nice. All right. So for the final faction, I'd say we'll talk about Syndicate next. There it is.
Very excited about this one.
Yeah. All right. I think people might have seen our background at the start of this video, so let's talk about it first. The Salamander Mage. Where is he? There he is. I gotta talk to my people here. Make sure that I've got all the premiums here. We got an award. There it is. The Salamander Mage. Finally. It is now a 5/5 Tribute 4. Damaged 3 adjacent enemy units by 2. And whenever you pay a Tribute ability, gain 1 coin. Adrenaline 5, gain 2 coins instead.
So the big difference with this one is what used to be an ability that was completely locked behind Adrenaline is now always available, and the Adrenaline actually increases the payoff that you get. And we believe that this is going to be a very strong engine for tribute decks, and it might be what the archetype needs.
Yeah, like to see it. I think there's another Salamandra card that got a small change, right? Which is the Lackey, right? There she is. She now reads, the first time you gain a coin each turn, boosts self by 1.
Yes, so this is basically a reward of our previous ability, but now we made sure that it would work with cards such as tax collectors, which wasn't the case previously. And doing so, we think that this is going to be a really interesting and cheap engine for SI. Yeah. Why?
Syndicate does love itself some engines, so that's always good. Up next, I would say we take a quick look at our favorite Madame Louisa, and she now has an option to get Zeal. That's pretty good. So you can decide to spend those 3 coins on the tribute and make sure that the effect goes off if you're feeling scared that your opponent might have an answer, right?
Exactly.
Nice. Up next, what did we change for Kurt? We got another 6/6, and he now reads deploy a melee, place a bounty on enemy unit, and deploy ranged purifier unit. So it got a small provision and power change, right? Nice. Alright, we've got 4 more cards that were changed for Syndicate. I think we can just go through them. It's Collusion, which got a provision change from 11 to 10. We've got Failed Experiment, which its power is now 10 instead of 9. We've got Fallen Railer, which the Adrenaline got changed from 3 to 5. That is a big difference. And finally, we've got Adrenaline changed for Salamandra Abomination as well, from 4 to 6, so it procs 2 turns earlier as well.
Yes. So an overall... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. So yeah, an overall buff to the cards from the new expansion, and we hope that they're going to feel way better for Syndicate.
Yeah. I think players will be happy to test them out and get a feel for that power level, the new power level of Syndicate. Yeah, that was a lot of changes. Coming up tomorrow, is there anything left you want to say, especially about these changes that you're looking forward to?
I'm a bit lost. I'm looking forward to see how the community is gonna react to it, and how the meta will change responding to this.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see you, as a team, finding a middle ground between basically destroying a card and removing it out of the possibility to being played, and still toning down its power level so it doesn't become something that you hate to see on ladder. So I think that's a very difficult path, but I feel like this might just do the trick, hopefully. Other than that, we've got a few fixes coming up tomorrow as well. 3 of them I'm going to mention here specifically. We've got the change that players can now click the order ability of Dol du Locke, the monster artifact, even when there are no units left in the deck, which is nice. We've got playing Siana's order into Mata will now correctly let you draw 2 cards. That is how it's supposed to work. And now units that have Vitality or Bleeding and Veil at the same time will no longer be able to receive additional Vitality or Bleeding. I think that was something where people weren't exactly sure if this was intentionally or not, because it kind of just changes the timer or the counter on your Vitality or Bleeding. But yeah, we felt like this is how it should be. You should not be able to add anything to the card after Veil has been applied. Yeah, and I think that's it. There's one extra topic I've got for everyone. A small reminder that the Lunar board is leaving the shop tomorrow, so do grab it while you can. We've also got new cosmetics obviously coming up tomorrow. We've got the Year of the Ox this year round for the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year, and that's why we've got this beautiful new card back. And there's also the option to get a new coin in the Lucky Bundle. Other than that, we'll be adding a really nice mega pack, which consists of, I think, 25 premium ultimate cacks. We've got Snowdrop in there, we've got an Ox avatar, looks really cute, and a nice border, yeah, and some Metroid powder on top. That is grand. And I think that now actually concludes this video. We've got a lot coming up tomorrow, obviously. We've got a new journey. Who could it be? I don't know. Is it Roach? Is it
me?
Is it Jean? Maybe it's Jean. Are you in the game tomorrow? Maybe. We'll have to see. Also, there is a special event coming up. With that, I mean Valentine's Day. We all love Valentine's Day, so keep an eye out for whatever that brings to the game. And other than that, first of all, thank you so much for joining me today, Jean, and I hope to see you here on this stage soon again.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Ryan.
Of course.
Always a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching out there. And we hope that you will enjoy the upcoming updates and the upcoming patch. And yeah, we'll see you on the battlefield. Until then.
See you, everyone.